Hey there, greetings everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here to do the ranking of the albums, a show that Ben and me have put together. He basically picks the albums from his vast collection of albums and gives them to me, and I listen to all four, and then I rank them according to how I feel about them. Basically, that's pretty much the way it is going. The winner of this, like the album that ends up in first, or the group that wins this particular episode, who ranks first, will go on to a semi-final, not to be determined yet. So anyways, he gave me four good albums. I know some of you have already watched the first two episodes. For those who haven't, I'm going to listen and rank them, and then of course the top one I already said will go to the next round. So he gave me four albums. I found three of them decent to good, and the last one I didn't really like it too much, and I kind of had a feeling I might not. But the four albums he gave me were Big Trains, Folklore, XTC's Drums and Wires, Honeymoon Suite's self-titled debut album from 1984, and Krokus's Headhunter. That's the order he gave them in to me, so I'm going to rank them according to how I like them. So coming in at number four, easily number four here, far down from the other albums in my opinion, and doesn't really pass. I didn't really care for the album. I pretty much knew I wouldn't. And now I know why too, because I listened to it in its entirety and figured out the reasons why I don't like it. So the album is Krokus, and it's Headhunter. This is a kind of a hard rock. They're a hard rock band from, I believe they're from Germany. I think that's where they originally are from. I remember as soon as he gave me this band, I didn't know what album the song was on. I remember their version of American Woman, which I thought was pretty lame, and I didn't really care for it. It's not on this album. However, they did do a cover of Stay Awake All Night, which is a BTO track, which is also lame. I didn't like that either. So to me, I think the main reason I don't like this band is I just find them that they're a bit of a rip-off band from Guns N' Roses, and now I don't even like Guns N' Roses, so if I don't like Guns N' Roses, I'm not going to like them. That's pretty much how it's gone here. I don't completely hate them, though. They do have some good stuff about them. Their vocals, to me, and this actually explains why, I always wondered why AC/DC, when Brian Johnson kind of had to go on the lame there and couldn't tour with them, why they chose Axl Rose. But then after having listened to this album, I realized why they did it. This vocalist has a very similar sound to Axl Rose in the screeching part, but he also has a very similar sound to Bon Scott in that nasal sound. Like, he doesn't sound like either of them 100%, but he has a little bit of both of them in him. So it makes kind of sense now to me why they might have chose Axl Rose. And when I saw Axl Rose performing with AC/DC, I actually thought, you know what, he's pretty decent here. I was very surprised how decent I thought he was, and I can now understand why I see that. Now, are they Bon Scott? Neither Axl Rose nor this guy are Bon Scott. They're not even close. They don't even belong on the same planet. However, there is some similarity in the sound of their voices. That's it. So for me, pretty much this was easily the bottom album, and this is actually the only album in the tournament thus far that I gave a subpar rating to. So it's coming in at number 4, Krokus's Headhunter. Number 3, Honeymoon Suite, a debut album from 84. Not a bad album. I do have a bit of a negative with it because when I was younger and this album came out, a bunch of us hated it. We couldn't stand it. Crap, we didn't like it at all. We hated that song, New Girl Now. We thought the guitar playing was lame. thought everything about the album was lame. Now that was, when that came out, I was probably, I was about 20 years old at the time, and nobody liked it. Well, none of my friends and stuff that I knew liked it at the time. So, but I did listen to its entirety, so it's better than I thought it was going to be, and actually quite a bit better than I thought. That song aside, which I never cared for, some of the other bigger hits on the album, like "Burnin' in Love," this kind of got a Scorpions feel to it, not in like power and stuff like that, but just kind of feels like a Scorpions song. And the "Stay in the Light," this one is very probably their best track on the album. Pretty good. There's a number of songs on this album though. There's like 3 or 4 of them on here that I just kept thinking of Pat Benatar the whole time. The guy's voice is in that range. Actually kind of has a similar sound to his voice, and the music was like that power pop that she put out, and I like Pat Benatar a lot, so I'm surprised I didn't like these guys more because of that. But I didn't like Pat Benatar back then. I do now, and I don't mind this. I think this is an album that a couple more listens I might be okay with it. Anyways, it was decent enough to finish third. Probably challenged a little bit with some of the tracks towards the end of the album, but just couldn't hold up the pants of the other two. So the next two, easily the best two, I think. And actually, I listened to them in the order that he gave them to me, I believe. Maybe I didn't. No, I didn't. I went with this next one that came second. I went with it first, thinking it's going to be the winner. I'll listen to it first and then see how everything else rates up to it. And that's the XTC's Drums and Wires album. Now, I do remember this album. I do remember seeing it. My friend had it. I listened to a fair number of the tracks, quite a bit. I never actually bought the album myself. I'm not really sure why. It was just not something that... And I think part of the reason is I think that I was trying to get out of owning my vinyls. I was going to move out and be on my own and stuff like that, so I didn't want to add any more vinyls. I think that's part of the reason. But this is an excellent album. Has probably my favorite XTC song on it, which is Making Plans for Nigel. It's an absolute killer track. One of the best new wave songs to come out of that time period. Still a song I like a lot. I still like to see. I sing it quite a bit. My daughter used to say, "What the hell is that you're singing?" And that's it. That was Making Plans for Nigel. Just such a great track with so much feel to it. This album actually kind of reminds me a bit of Men at Work. And they're kind of similar. They have some similarities to their sound, to their music. It's kind of boppy and kind of jumpy, and they both have that kind of sound. And I like this particular track as good as, or as much as, anything that I've listened to in today's competition. The other song on it, of course, is Life Begins at the Hop. Another big track. Not as crazy about that track, but there's a lot of stuff on this album that's very catchy, very poppy, but very interesting. The sounds are really good. There's a lot of guitar bits in here that I really like quite a bit. Yeah, so this album I thought was going to win it, pretty much hands down, because I wasn't. I knew the Honeymoon Suite album, my issues with it. I knew that I wouldn't like the Krokus. The other one, the album that actually won it, surprised me immensely, because I had only heard a couple of tracks by this band before and hadn't really been focused in on them too much. So XTC's coming in number 2. So number 1 was Big Train, the album Folklore. I really like this a lot. I think this came out in 2019, I believe, seeing something like that. I really like the violin parts on this album quite a bit. Actually, the whole operatic, or what do they call it? Drawing a blank. Yeah. Anyways, I do like the violin parts. I like all of those kind of woodwind instruments. The flute is good here as well. You know, just a lot of really interesting kind of sounds in this. The guy's vocals, I think, were fantastic. The girl, I was expecting the girl to sing more. She didn't sing as much on here as she did. She wasn't bad. But this guy had a range of vocals that quite often throughout the album, I would be thinking of Peter Gabriel. His voice is not very, like, it's not identical to Peter Gabriel's, but it definitely has some similarities in it. And he's very strong. His vocals are very strong and forward. There's a really good sound to his voice. So I enjoyed a lot. The two track, and this was the one album that I really liked. There was a couple tracks on it I really liked a lot. The Transit of Venus Across the Sun. I thought that was an absolute killer track. Maybe the best track in this whole thing, barring Making Plans for Nigel. But just I really liked it, and I love the song Exquisite too. Both of them really catchy. And you know, the whole album was just proliferated with lots of really interesting progressive sounds. I didn't get a kind of a feel. At first I thought, once I heard the guy's voice, I thought it's going to be a Genesis-like band, but I don't think they are. I think they have their own sound. They're very different. They do have some of that progressive sound from the early era of the progressive rock, and also some the neo-prog stuff that came out in the 80s, a little bit of that as well, but they have a lot of their own sound, and there's even some kind of medieval stuff that you get with those woodwind instruments and trumpets and saxophones and stuff like that, which I still can't remember what I'm trying to say. Philharmonic, that's what I'm trying to think. Philharmonic type instrumentation here. So really good album. I think it won it. Didn't win it easily, but those two tracks I think really put it over the top, beating out XTC, but not by much. It was a close battle. I just think that the problem is that XTC is a new wave pop band versus a good progressive band. Very difficult for the other band, for the pop band, to win in those circumstances. However, because this is a fairly new band to me, they didn't win as handily as that they might have if I'd been more familiar with them. Anyways, those are my picks for this week's ranking the albums. So number 1 was Big Train, Folklore, I believe from 2019. That will go on to the next round. The other 3, number 2, XTC's Drums and Wires, I really liked, but it just can't, only one winner, right? Number 3, Honeymoon Suite, put up a valiant fight for a while there. I actually liked it. It wasn't too bad. And then the number 4 album, Krokus, Headhunter, which I didn't care for, and now I know why, because I listened to it, and hopefully I will never have to do that again. So there you go. So that's my picks. If you want to rank those albums in the albums below, by all means do so. Put them in the comment section. Hit the like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. Do not forget to hit the notification bell so that you get notified of when the when the videos come out. So anyways, take care, and we will see you next Friday for another ranking of the albums. This will be episode 4. We're moving right along. This has been really interesting and fun to do. So take care and goodbye.